Hi, I'm Devin Dean, Content Director at ProjectManager.com. Today's topic is a bit of a thorny one: how to manage your stakeholders during a crisis. Now, if you're here, let's face it, you're going to be in a world of hurt. But there are certain things that you can do whilst you're in a crisis to manage your stakeholders to make sure that your company's reputation remains intact, your project team's reputation remains intact, you actually deliver the project that you've been hired to deliver, and lastly, and importantly, your personal reputation also remains intact. The key goal to remember when you're managing through a crisis is that you need to retain the confidence of your stakeholders. Once you lose their confidence, all bets are off with regard to you being able to deliver that project successfully. I've got a few points that I've learned through some of my hard lessons with the scars on my back to prove it. One of the first things you want to do in a crisis is you want to anoint one of the key stakeholders to be the key point of contact for the rest of the stakeholder group. You're going to be in there in the trenches managing with the team, trying to get them through this crisis. If you also have to manage upwards and outwards to all the stakeholders, you're going to have a real difficult challenge on your hand to balance all those bowls in the time frames that you need to. So get one of those stakeholders to be your key point of contact through the crises. Get them to sign up to it, and they're going to be the voice for you to the rest of the stakeholder group during the crises. Get your boss's help. Don't be fearful in talking to your boss, laying on the line and saying, "Look, boss, I need your help on this one. Can you please go out for a coffee or have a steak with so-and-so on the stakeholders or the steering committee?" You really need to improve relationships during that period and manage those relationships very carefully. Your boss is a vital part of that. Please bring him into it or her into it. Don't be afraid of fessing up and owning up to the crisis that you're in, and enlist the support of your boss. Approach him or her with the plan, but bring them into the program and get them to help out in managing your stakeholders. Get a coach within the stakeholder group. I always find it really useful to have one of the stakeholders who's on the inside but pulling for you and your team to deliver. You can bounce ideas off them. They know their colleagues more and better than you do because they're working with them on a day-to-day basis. Ask them and invite them to be your coach during the crises. Invite them to be a sounding board for you before you bring some solutions and ideas back to the stakeholder community. They can be the litmus test for you before you get some solution ideas out there to the rest of the stakeholders. Certainly on somebody on your bench, they are still working for the client, but they'll be a coach for you, and they can help you navigate your way through the landmines in the crises. Agree the decision points and the dates and success criteria in advance with the stakeholders. Now, in a crisis, it seems like the sky is falling on you the whole way. You got to make sure that the stakeholders don't take the opportunity to change focus or move the goalpost whilst you're in the middle of managing that crisis. Get them to agree what the successful outcome is from that crisis, and agree the decision points that they must need to make if your way of managing through the crises isn't necessarily working the way you want it to achieve those results. You need to agree those decision criteria and decision points and decision dates up in advance with the stakeholders before you get into the middle of that crisis. And lastly, and most importantly, is manage communications. You've got to manage what goes out to the stakeholder community. Now, you've anointed your key point of contact to be the person that's going to be the voice for you to the rest of the stakeholders, but you've got to manage that communications upwards. Don't let your project team have one-on-ones with the head of marketing or the head of sales or the head of the technology group without you knowing about it. An accidental slip of the tongue by one of your project team members about a particular thorny issue or a date that you're trying to achieve to the head of marketing, head of sales, or the head of technology group can have a disastrous and monumental negative impact on your project. You'll have to be doing damage control to those individuals and others about that accidental slip of the tongue. Make sure you can manage the communications very, very closely, especially when you're in crises. On the projects that I've managed that happen to get into crises, I've applied these points early and often. The key thing I was using the points to do is to drive and retain the confidence of my stakeholders. I think if you do these as well, you also will have a successful outcome in managing your project and managing your stakeholders whilst you're in crises. For more whiteboard sessions and all your project management needs, come see us at ProjectManager.com.